Evening, campers. Hope you're going well. Apologies for the 6-minute delay there. Had a bit of a small technical. My apologies for that. I hope you're going well, team. Very warm welcome to the Professional Human Series. It's Andy here. Hope you had yourselves a ripper weekend. I found myself a little bit hoarse this morning, mainly because of the fact that the auction scene was bloody hard, I have to say. Some real shit fights going on out there, and this is across the board. Connected with a whole bunch of auctioneers over the course of Saturday night, not one of them had an easy day in any way, shape, or form. It wasn't easy. Team, this brings me to my conversation that I want to have tonight very, very quickly. But firstly, I want to ask, of course, how are you out of 10? How's things going? How was your weekend? Did you get yourself some action in a business sense, of course? Did you have yourself a relaxing time? Did you get some socializing done? Give us your scores on the doors in the comment section below. It would be great to connect with as many of you as possible. Let me know how you're getting on in the comment section on whichever platform you are watching this on. Team, work out or get found out. Now, what I mean by that is whenever we have a good market, right? And by good, we're referring to good market for sellers, right? For vendors. But whenever we refer to a good market, what happens is, generally speaking, agents metaphorically get fat and lazy. They let their skills go blunt, okay? They don't need to keep their saw sharpened as per the 7 habits of highly effective people, because they ride this wave of a market. It carries a hell of a lot of mediocrity and worse in our industry. And it's really interesting, right? Because, and this is one of my points. Whenever we refer to a good market, a lot of the time that vernacular is sort of directed towards ourselves, right? When essentially a good market is for our sellers, is for the people that employ us. It has not got anything to do with our income. The good market should be concerning our clients. We shouldn't have a good or a bad market. We should just have our industry, and we should have our processes, procedures, and practices sorted at all times, because even in an amazing market, you still get the occasional vendor that is going to be a little bit more challenging, or you're going to find yourself in a situation that's going to be a little bit more difficult, right? So we need to, or drink too much scotch, nice. We need to make sure, team, that we really, really do get our asses in gear, because the market has started to turn, and already some of the more average agents are starting to get found out very quickly. In fact, a little bit quicker than what you would normally see out of a shift in market conditions. So, team, like anything that, like any skill, practice is critical. Reps are critical if you want to get fit. And I'm talking metaphorically speaking, gang. Don't worry, I'm not talking about physical fit. It's not like I'm an Adonis by any stretch of the imagination, right? But we need to make sure that we're always working out on our skill set if we want to have any chance of creating any consistency in our working lives, right? We really do. This is, if nothing else, this is just a kick up the arse, because team, a lot of us need one right now. I'm hearing a lot of chat, a lot of conversations. I'm seeing, I'm noticing, I'm getting it spoken to me about, the market's getting a bit challenging, the market's getting a bit tougher, blah, 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 blah. For who? At the end of the day, team, we've just not had to work as hard as what we normally should do in order to get the outcomes that our vendors are after, right? We've just got to start working a bit harder, gang. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And it is really boring. It's really, really boring to hear people like this was a shock, right? To hear like it was a shock. Because it wasn't. Why? As Jim Rohn says, After every summer comes autumn. After every autumn comes winter. After every winter comes spring. And believe it or not, I bet you know what comes after spring. Like the seasons, my friends, business peaks and troughs in activity come along all the time. It's inevitable. And yet, for some reason, every time there's a shift in the market, we sort of like get all like if it changes and goes all really, really good, we get all giddy and excited and all that sort of jazz. And then when it gets hard, everyone starts bloody whinging. That's coming from a pom, right? Team, we've got to get our asses in gear and start working harder, not just on the market, but on ourselves. We have to. I'm telling you, gang, there's going to be so many people, so many more real estate professionals that will get found out really quickly. Because we aren't even in a bad market or a buyer's market, right? We're not even in one. I'm saying to a lot of vendors when I'm having a chat to them before an auction that, no, I'll tell them that, look, I'll just to give you a bit of an overview of the market, I'm fortunate of having a helicopter view. And right now, it is a little bit more challenging, okay? It's not the free-for-all that we saw pre-lockdown. And this is in Melbourne, by the way, Tim. Now, let me tell you straight, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, it's still a bloody good market. It's still a great market to sell in. So don't worry, I'm not putting a damper on it. But we've just got to think a little bit more intelligently as to how we achieve what it is that you're after. That's the reality of the situation, team. It's still a damn good market. But we've just got to use our smarts. We've got to use what we're paid to do and paid to have, the skills, the knowledge, the awareness, and apply it to our sellers' situation so that they can actually stand a chance of getting a result. Way too many agents, I'm not talking necessarily about my clients, although some of them, I've already mentioned this too, we can't be waiting for auction day to beat our vendors, our sellers over the heads. It's happening too often. It's happening way too often. There's one or two certain franchise groups that coach all of their staff in exactly the same way. And if they are not careful, because they really do preach the whole price it low, watch it go type thing, you're going to end up stopping short. Why? Because buyers, they're wise to it now. You've got to stop trying to trick our marketplace. You've got to stop trying to trick our consumers. You've got to actually, I swear, and I said this to someone on Saturday, I think it was, or Friday. I tell you what, the truth is it's a bloody strong power to use. Can't argue with the truth. And the truth can be used to our vendors' benefit, to our sellers' benefit, to the people that employ us, their benefit, in order to make sure that we get what it is that they're looking for, i.e. the outcome that allows them to take the next big step in their lives. So I'm not necessarily talking about getting them the biggest price that they're after, because that simply is just bullshit. What I am talking about is the greater purpose that they started all this with. Yeah? One of the key words for this changing tide is perspective. And if we haven't got the awareness to make sure that all of our advice, all of our knowledge, all of our awareness, all of our intelligence is not directed towards helping them with their perspective, you're just going to be at the mercy of the market as a professional. And I'm doing that on purpose, right? Because true professionalism's got nothing to do with a good market or a bad market. The best agents do well at any time. What would you want to be? What do you want to be? Do you want to be a slave to the game or a servant of the game? I talk about this in time management. I talk about this in asset management. I talk about this in capability management. But this is it. Do you want to be a slave or a servant? I'm telling you now, one of the main reason why a lot of people are having a real good whinge and a moan at the minute is because they're too busy suckling at the teats of the market instead of providing for themselves. Because that teat's going to run dry. Every summer comes autumn. After autumn comes winter. It's inevitable, team. And it's a simple choice. Because none of this stuff is rocket science. But you've got to learn it in order to be able to focus on the complexities of dealing with human beings. But right now, more than anything, a number of you have just got to pull your finger out of your backside. I'm not saying that you're not putting in the hours. I'm not saying that you're not busy. But the people that pay us, our sellers, we need to be pulling our finger out and doing a hell of a lot more collaboration with them from the very, very beginning. Pretty much across the board. Every auctioneer that I spoke to and every auctioneer that I've spoken to in the last week or so, we're at the REIV and the auction committee, we said exactly the same thing. These conversations, these real conversations are happening way too late. Because you want to, and I get it, right, to a degree. Well, I don't get it because it's stupid, but I understand why for the first couple of weeks, a lot of agents are like, yeah, it's going really well. Don't worry about it. We've had fuck all through, but it's okay. We're going to get there. False dawns, false promises. You've got to get comfortable in talking about all eventualities. You really do. And it's not like you have to be all doom and gloom about it. You can say, look, I'd be remiss of me, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, if I didn't talk about all of the possible outcomes that could happen over the course of the next week. It'd be stupid of me to do that because then you're not prepared. And it shows that I'm not prepared. So let's have a quick chat about all of those possibilities that could come through, that could come down the pipe. And we'll go from worst case to best case. And the reason why I do that, team, is because you end on a good note. Not difficult, but it's easy to balls up, team, if you haven't got the balls to have these conversations. Sort it out, gang. In this market, which is still a good market, we should not be having to have Andy's voice go hoarse. It should still be a pretty decent market. There's too much hoping and praying right now, and that is not a strategy. And these words will ring true with some of you. Not a lot of you won't care to admit it, and that's fine. Just admit it to yourselves. You don't have to admit it to anyone else. All right? I'm not after people coming on here and going, yeah, look, you're right, Andy. I've just got so lazy and da-da-da-da. I don't give a shit. You don't have to tell anyone. But for the love of God, tell yourselves. I keep referring to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People because they're legit. And they're all as critical as each other. But if you don't sharpen that saw, you're going to be at the mercy of the game. And that is not healthy for your finances, for your mentality, for your mindset, for your spirit, for your soul, nothing. All right? So please, team, wake up. Start working out, get yourselves a bit of fitness. I'm talking about our skill set so that you can take on this market with a greater degree of confidence and still be able to provide the results as best as you possibly can. Way too much of hanging onto the coattails of a marketplace and hoping it's going to drag you through. Hope is not a strategy. Sort yourselves out, team. All right? So if you look at the auction results, it's there for everyone to see. Victoria has gone under 80%. New South Wales, that 87% I'm looking on REA is complete horseshit. because less than half of your auctions were actually reported. 860 results available from 1,666. So just under, just over half of your auctions were reported, New South Wales. If you are one of these agents that's hanging it out on, he's 87% clearance rate, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, market's still hot. You're kidding yourselves. Just over half of your results were reported, team. What do you reckon happened to the other half? Stop making yourself feel better with these figures without understanding what they actually are saying. You gotta work harder on your skills, and you gotta work way harder on your vendor collaboration. It's as simple as that. And most of all, use the truth. It's way more powerful than any bullshit script or dialogue you could ever learn. Use the bloody truth, team. All right, rant over. I'm going to love you and leave you to hopefully just go and ask yourself a question. Am I a slave to the game, or am I a servant of the game? And if your answer is the former, you got to work out, find out, discover what you need to do in order to go to the correct part of that. Because otherwise, you're just going to have no life. All right, team? And if you need any help, hit me up. All right, gang. Love you all. Stay strong. I know that engines are starting to run a bit empty, and I'm appreciative of that. But you're just going to waste even more energy by carrying on the way you're carrying on in a lot of cases. Your life will get easier if you make some changes to make your game better in any market. All right, team. Have yourselves a strong, strong week. If you've got any auctions coming up this weekend and you're nervous and you're anxious and you are hoping that an outcome is going to happen, get onto it now. Get a collaboration going with one of your colleagues, with your director, with your auctioneer. Don't give a shit, as long as it's someone that can act as like maybe a bit of a subjective voice on the situation, so that you can still have that relationship. That's where teamwork comes into play, gang. Get onto it now, because if the longer you leave it, more painful it's going to be. It's going to be really painful on the weekend. All right? Get onto it now. I bailed a couple of agents out on the weekend, managed to dig out results from bloody nowhere, but it ain't going to be able to happen. It ain't going to be able to go on. It's not going to happen every single week. Collaborate with someone in your office, whether it's a director or an auctioneer or whoever it is. Get that subjective voice into the frame so it allows you to maintain that relationship whilst delivering the reality if you're struggling to do it yourself. Just acknowledge it though, and then get some help in. All right? And if you haven't got any help in your office, that's a bigger problem, which we'll talk about another day. But just hit someone in the game up and we'll help. All right, team. Stay safe, stay healthy. Most importantly, stay happy. Get better at what you do, because that will make you happier. Take it easy, team.